What is up, guys? Welcome to A to Z Geek. My name is Nick, and on today's episode, we're going to take a look at a new 4K sports camera called the Firefly 6S. What is up, guys? We're here in the close-up. I want to just briefly go through the unboxing of this product so you can see what accessories come with it. So a little bit of information. I ordered this from GearBest.com for $107, which is an excellent price point compared to the almost $400 for the Gopro Hero 4, which is a similar 4K sports camera. So let's jump right in. A little dust cover here that just kind of slides right off. It's a little tight because I've kind of unboxed this thing a few times before already. So here's the outside dust cover. Here's all of the stats and stuff. If you really care to read those, you can pause this video and take a look at those. It's got a little slide off cover, which is reminiscent of Apple products, which is pretty awesome. And first thing you notice inside the box is the camera on the top and the bottom, which contains all of the accessories. So let's just go briefly through the accessories so you can see everything that comes with it. And also +1 in the book for Firefly, because this thing comes with a ton of accessories. So let's pull this off here. First thing you notice is the Getting Started guide. Comes in both English and Japanese. Second thing here is a tripod mount, which also has a belt clip on the back, which is removable, which is pretty cool. I don't know what you'd use the belt clip for, but the tripod mount is definitely useful. Extension, short extension. These are extra 3M sticky pads and a wire support cable. Handlebar mount. Another extension rod, a longer one. Some sticky mounts, one with just a hole in it and the other one with a 1/4-inch receiver. Another extension, another short extension. USB charge cable and data cable. A little dust rag here. This is a two-part kind of thing. It just unscrews from itself. One is a 1/4-inch receiver and the other one is a 1/4-inch rod. I'm not sure what you would use those two for, but I'm sure there's a reason for them. This is another one that's sort of one of the clip style mounts, similar to the ones you can find with Gopro. Fabric mount, I believe. This is just goes with the fabric mount. An FPV cable, which you can use for charging or for video output to your flight controller, which is pretty awesome because I don't know of any other sports camera, except for maybe the Mobius, that has this. A couple of zip ties and a lens cap for the camera when it's outside of the waterproof case. So that's pretty much it for the accessories. I'm just going to slide those over so we have some room here. And I want to pull the camera out of the box here. Get rid of that box. So here's the camera inside of its waterproof case. You'll notice that it's very similar to the GoPro Hero 4 case. Similar clip at the top. Similar button setup. I'm not even sure if it might even be the same button setup, because as far as I remember, I think that this is actually where the tool selection is. Like the settings selection menu button is on the GoPro Hero 4. Black edition anyway, I don't know about the silver edition, but and that's similar to this as well, because this is also where the settings buttons is. So yeah, very similar. This is what a Hero 3 case looks like. Pretty similar as well, but a little bit different as far as the clip design and the front lens cover. So let's go ahead and pull the camera out here. I'm going to try and keep this one a little bit brief, because really what I think everyone wants to see is how it compares to the GoPro. So I'm going to try and keep the overview and the run through of the software and everything as brief as I possibly can. So just one final look at this case so you can kind of see it. And then we'll get rid of that so we have some more room. So here is the camera. I'm going to go ahead and compare it to a Hero 3 today, because that's the one I have on hand. I have a Hero 4 as well, but it is not with me at the moment. You'll notice that the lenses, let's see if I can get this set up right. You notice that the lens on the Hero 3 pops up slightly more, even when they're flush mounted to each other. So just a little bit, but not too much. I don't know if that changes anything or if it's the same lens or what, but I believe these guys are a proprietary sensor and this one's a Sony sensor. So I don't know if that makes any difference or what, but pretty similar. I hope this fits inside any of the accessories that I have for the GoPro. I know that a couple of accessories I have for my GoPro is pretty tight fitting, so I'm hoping that even though this one's slightly larger, it will still fit in all my accessories. So on the front, you'll notice similar to the GoPro, I will just get rid of this, we don't need that anymore. Similar to the GoPro, you'll find the power and mode button on the front. A little grill, which I believe is an air vent, and the branding of Firefly 6S. You'll also find the screen, which is actually a backlit e-ink screen. Excellent. I love the backlit. I'm often in situations where I have to set my camera up in a low light situation, then moving to a better lit situation. But it's nice to have that because I believe it's easier to see. We already talked about the lens, so let's move to the right side of the camera. On this side, you will not find a micro SD slot similar to the GoPro, but instead just the HDMI port and the USB port. On the back, which is probably the biggest difference when compared to the GoPros, you will not find an accessory attachment on the back, nor will you find an LED light or indicator. So if you need to see that it's recording, you got to look on the front or the top. All that's back here right now is the battery. As far as batteries are concerned, it uses exactly the same battery as the GoPro, 1600 milliamp hour, 3.7 volt, 5.6 watt battery. So I would assume you'll see similar battery life, but I haven't tested it completely since I just got the camera yesterday, and I was super stoked because this is what I wanted to do my next review on. On the top, you'll find the record button as well as an LED ring. No other indicators or anything else on the top there. On the left-hand side, you'll find the settings. On this camera, you're using the left or the right arrow buttons in order to change your settings. And that is it. Oh, on the bottom, you'll find your slot for the micro SD card. This is different from any other camera I've seen, at least as far as this form factor. So that's pretty much it as far as that goes. So let's turn the camera on and take a look at the settings. I am going to go through those pretty fast because I want to get to the footage. So let's power the camera on. First thing you'll notice is a little indicator for the Firefly logo. And then it just throws you right into whatever mode you turn the camera off in. In this case, it is the video mode. So like I said before, this is what you use to change the settings. So we're just going to press over, and the wrench will pop up. You press again, and you get your first setting. In this case, the first setting is size, and what they mean by size is actually video resolution. On this camera, you have an option of 4K 24 frames per second, 2.5K 30 frames per second, 1080p 60 frames per second, 1080p 30 frames per second, 720p 120 frames per second, and VGA 30 frames per second. Moving on to a different setting, next one is going to be your version. So this is your firmware version. At the time of this review, it is version 2.1. Next one is default. Essentially all this is to allow you to change all of your menu settings back to default. Third one is format, pretty self-explanatory. Formats your card. Although one quorum I have with the format in this camera is that there isn't any progress bar, so you can't tell whether or not it's formatting or not. There's nothing to say, oh, card's being formatted, and then when it goes away, you know, oh, it's done. You basically just click on it, hit format, and that's it. That's all you get out of it. Next one is angle. Not sure what they're getting at with the angle, but it says large and middle. I believe this is basically narrow and wide. Like it is on the GoPro. Next one is USB power mode, which I guess on this camera you have to set it to on or off. So if you're going to power it off of USB, you need to set all your settings, turn this mode on, plug your USB cable on, you're good to go. This is also how you charge the camera, but I don't think you have to turn this mode on to charge the camera, unless you plug it into a computer. Oh, actually, you know what? I think USB mode is actually, no, it says USB power mode. So yeah, no, that's correct. You have to turn it on in order to power it via USB. Next one is Wi-Fi. I did test this briefly with my Android phone. It worked pretty well. I noticed a little bit of lag. It's not nearly as bad of a lag as the Hero 3 is. However, I did notice a lot of glitching when it had to change exposure settings. So moving from a dark area to a light area and vice versa, I did notice a lot of glitching. However, the software has sort of a refresh button that seems to work pretty well. Moving on, we have gyro, and this is actually one of the settings that I like the most out of this camera. The gyros, for those of you that don't know, is in-camera stabilization, meaning it stabilizes your video if you're just hand holding the camera. So you don't need to use any outside sources like an electronic gimbal or whatever. This is pretty awesome. I've seen some demonstrations of this online and it looked pretty good. It seemed to work pretty well. But you never know what people are doing in post-processing and stuff, so that's why I wanted to test it for myself. Not sure if this feature is going to be excellent for me because I already use an electronic gimbal for my GoPro footage as well as an electronic gimbal for my quadcopter footage. So we'll see. I don't know if double stabilization makes a difference or maybe it doesn't, so we'll see. Moving on, we have remove fisheye. This is the one I'm most excited about, and the reason for that is because I use mine for weddings, real estate videos, and for aerial cinematography, all of which I have to remove the fisheye. And let me tell you, if you don't have a powerful computer, I have two computers. I have a really powerful computer that I use for my day-to-day stuff for my production company, and I have a okay powered laptop. I usually edit these videos and some GoPro stuff on my laptop, and to remove the fisheye from the GoPro Studio app just takes way too long, especially if you have 10 or 15 or 20 or 30 or 50 clips that you're trying to export. Removing the fisheye from that stuff is ridiculous. It takes way too long. So I'm hoping that this feature works well inside camera. Never tested it, but I will test it for you guys. Moving on, we have Hertz. Hertz is basically allowing you to change the megahertz or the refresh rate of the camera. This is to line it up with the megahertz of your street lighting. So if you live in Europe or you live in the United States, your megahertz are going to be different. And if you don't have the hertz set correctly, if you're filming outside and there's street lamps on, those lights will flicker like crazy and it will drive you crazy. So make sure to check with your local area and see what megahertz all of your street lamps run on. A lot of them are LEDs this time around, so a little bit different. But in the older places, such as where I live, where they're still using gas lights, the refresh rate is ridiculous. So I need to set it to match, which is good. Moving on is TV mode. This is to basically just change it from NTSC to PAL or vice versa. Next is date stamping. This will allow you to actually put a date stamp on your video. This means it's baked into the actual video footage, which is, the reason for that, I believe, is because this is originally used for what do you call it, for dash cam. So I think it's useful in that sense. Next thing is color. You have the choice of standard or vivid. I believe that vivid is just a little bit more saturated. Next is sharpness. I don't use in-camera sharpness. I don't believe it looks very good. I usually use my nonlinear editing system for that, which in my case is Premiere. Next is ISO. ISO limiting is awesome. One of the features that you will not find on a sub $100 camera in the action camera stuff. They do have it on the new GoPro 4. Unfortunately, the new GoPro Camera 4 is around $400. I'm sorry, I'm really tired today. I woke up super early to take my parents-in-law to the airport, so I've been up for a while and I'm a little tired. The other thing that's good about ISO limiting is that if you have a situation that the lighting is a little low but you don't want to introduce too much grain, you can set it to either limit the ISO to 100, 400, and 1600, which is similar to the GoPro Hero 4. Another cool thing that you may or may not know about is if you're in a situation where it's a little bit low lighting and you've limited your ISO to, let's say, 400, and you're in low lighting, it will try to compensate the exposure by changing the shutter speed. And what happens is when you're moving and the shutter speed is changing, it makes your footage glitchy or kind of weird. So best case scenario, if it's a really low light situation and you don't think 1600 is going to cover it, probably not the camera to use for it. But otherwise, just keep it at 1600 and you'll be good to go. Next one is interval. This is basically like a time lapse, I guess. So you can take it's an intervalometer basically. So it'll take a picture every 3 seconds, every 5 seconds, every 10 seconds, and every 30 seconds. Next we have burst mode. It's pretty self-explanatory. It takes the burst of images. Next is size. This is actually your megapixel size for your camera. This one comes in 16 megapixels, 8 megapixels, and 5 megapixels. I'm not sure why you'd ever change it from 16 megapixels, but maybe you need a smaller sized image. Who knows? Next is WDR, which I believe stands for wide dynamic range, similar to ProTune on the GoPro. Fortunately for this camera, you can all the settings are accessible whether this is on or not. Next is auto, basic self-explanatory mode. It's auto everything, auto everything for the video, I guess. It's got a video symbol on there, so I'm assuming it's only for video. Next is cyclic 5 minute. I don't know what that stands for. The only thing I've come up with so far is because this is a dash cam, I'm thinking maybe it records for 5 minutes and then re-records for 5 minutes, or I don't know. I'll look it up and try and put it in the annotations if I figure it out. Next is time-lapse mode. Basically, time-lapse mode is video time-lapse mode. So the other one was camera time-lapse mode, or camera intervalometer. This is video mode. I'm not sure what the difference is between the two, but essentially this one is 0.5 seconds, 3 seconds, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, and 30 seconds. Next up, we have size. Nope, we're back to the beginning. So that's pretty much it for the camera. Next up, you're going to be taking a look at the footage that we recorded with this one and the GoPro Hero 3. I will try to do the GoPro Hero 4 just so we can do a back-to-back comparison. I'm not going to do any color correction or any post-processing on either of the videos so that you can see it straight out of the camera what it looks like, because everyone likes to put their own looks in it. So in all fairness, because this one does not record in 4K, I will set this to 1080 and set this to 1080. I will also offer some footage in 4K just so you can see what it looks like. And then later on, when I have access to the Hero 4, I'll do a head-to-head and see which one's better. I'll test a little bit of slow motion, basically just run through all the settings and kind of see how everything handles. I'll also add into that the demonstration of this being connected to a smartphone app. So we're just going to call this video part 1, and then part 2 next Friday will be all the test footage and the settings and hooking it up to the smartphone and all that. So that is it for today. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button and please hit the like button so that I can continue to make videos like this one. And if you have any comments, concerns, or suggestions on how I can make my videos better, please let me know in the comments below, and I will see you next Friday. Yeah.